RIMS is global. Discover why 10,000 of your peers in more than 60 countries are part of the world's largest risk management community. Visit rims.org/membership to find the best membership for you and your organization. Public registration is open for RISKWORLD 2026, which will be held May 3rd through the 6th in Philadelphia. Visit rims.org/RISKWORLD to register. Coming to you from RIMS headquarters in New York, this is RIMScast, the official podcast of the Risk and Insurance Management Society. I am Justin Smulison, Business Content Manager here at RIMS and your proud RIMScast host. This is episode 385. Our guest is Kiersten Cash. She is the Senior Manager for Workers' Compensation and General Liability at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and she's going to talk to us all about medical marijuana and workers' compensation claims. But first, let's talk about virtual workshops, starting with the RIMS CRMP. The next RIMS CRMP exam prep course will be April 21st and 22nd, and then again June 9th and 10th. Links to registration are on this episode's notes. On to virtual workshops. On April 15th, we have a virtual workshop covering emerging risks, and that will be led by our good friend Joseph Mayo. Register today and strengthen your risk knowledge. RIMS members always enjoy deep discounts on the virtual workshops. And we've got RIMS webinars coming up. On April 16th, Zurich and World Travel Protection will present Navigating the New Global Risk Landscape, Lessons for Business Travelers in Unstable Times. Register for webinars at rims.org/webinars and through the links on this episode's show notes. And folks, for more RIMS content, head over to YouTube and subscribe to @RIMS official channel. There you will find video podcasts, RIMScast Canada video podcasts, and other informative and entertaining content from RIMS. And head over to www.rmmagazine.com for the Q1 edition of the Azbee-Award-winning publication, RIMS Risk Management Magazine. We've got some more plugs coming up later. Let's get on with the show. Our guest today is the Senior Manager for Workers' Compensation and General Liability at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. She is Kiersten J. Cash. She's here to discuss what's going on with medical marijuana and workers' compensation claims. And this will serve as a little bit of a preview of her session at RISKWORLD on May 6th at 10:15 in room 120 BC, Reefer Madness, still in the weeds with medical marijuana and workers' compensation. We will discuss if cannabis is still an effective treatment for chronic pain due to workplace injury, and what could happen if the U.S. government were to change its schedule from number 1 to number 3. And we're going to learn all about her fascinating work and career. I'm so glad she's joining us. Let's get to it. Kiersten Cash, welcome to RIMScast.
So I'm joined by Kiersten Cash. She is already one of my favorite people to riff with. So we're going to have a great time here on RIMScast. Kiersten, welcome. This is your debut.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure. Now, let's just get this one acronym out of the way. You are with the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, but we get to call it CHOP, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So later on, audience, when you hear the word CHOP, we're not talking about a salad franchise. We're talking about the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And so, Kiersten, I don't know if you know this. If you listened to last week's show, we had Joshua Gold on the show. He's also going to be a speaker at RISKWORLD. So if you look back, RISKWORLD talks with Gold and Cash. So
I love it.
If you didn't know any better, you would think that we're a pawn shop as well. Apparently, we are not. We are a risk management podcast, an award-winning one at that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm so excited to speak with you because you do have a session at RISKWORLD. It's called Reefer Madness, and we're going to talk all about it. But before we do, I would love it if you would give the audience an abridged version of your resume with your highlights from your risk and insurance roles and career.
Okay. So the short version is I have been in the world of workers' comp for a little over 20 years now. I started out as an adjuster. I adjusted national market claims and middle market claims collectively for 10 years. Once I left the adjusting desk, I went to the broker side. I was able to manage the claim program for the largest client at that time, along with 23 other claim programs covering all lines of insurance, left the broker to go to Devereux, which is Advanced Behavioral Health residential treatment facilities for people with mental disabilities. And then I moved on from Devereux to come to CHOP, where I manage all of workers' comp, general liability, and auto for the health system.
So do you love workers' comp? Is it the sort of thing that you wanted to go right into, or did you have an internship or something where you fell into it?
Workers' comp is one of those type of industries where you kind of fall into it.
Yeah.
I was in the final year of my grad program and I needed a job. So I met somebody that worked at Liberty Mutual, says, we're hiring. Would you like to be a claims adjuster? And I needed a job. So I said, sure. I will admittedly say that I tried to get out of this industry on numerous occasions. As you can see, I jump around quite a bit, but the industry apparently loved me too much, which is why I am still here. But I'm glad I stayed because I really like where I have ultimately landed at CHOP.
It's reciprocal is what you're saying, I think.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Now, a quick question about your time at Liberty Mutual. What was the emu there when you were there?
No, I don't remember the emu there.
You would think you'd remember an emu in the office,
I would remember
right?
an emu. Would have made my time at Liberty so much more fun because I could have had an emu on my desk to keep company while I was adjusting claims.
What about Doug? Was he there?
No.
No.
I feel like all of that stuff came after I left Liberty Mutual.
Okay. And of course, it wasn't called Liberty Bibberty either.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. All right.
And fun fact about Liberty Bibberty, the guy on the Liberty Mutual commercial actually plays John Finnegan on Bold and the Beautiful, which is one of my soap operas I've watched since I was a kid.
Oh, look at that. It all does come around full circle here with Kiersten Cash.
Super funny. I love
it. It's excellent. And it's also worth mentioning, before we move on any further, you are an organizational member of the Delaware Valley chapter of RIMS. You're our oldest chapter. You're a part of our oldest chapter.
Wow.
You personally are not the oldest chapter.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, because RIMS is now 76 years old. The chapter is 75 years old. And we had Tom Armstrong on the show recently, and he's very excited about all the cool things that the host city is going to be doing for RISKWORLD for its 75th. It's an exciting time to be in Philadelphia risk management, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I'm excited that I'm in Philadelphia and I don't have to travel.
Yes, well, me too. I can just take Amtrak. Oh, especially with TSA lines being what they are. We're not going to get too deep into it, but I'm just very glad I don't have to deal with LaGuardia or JFK right now.
Absolutely.
Yes. So now that we're all caught up, we got so much to discuss and so little time to do it. We got to talk about medical marijuana and workers' comp. What is the biggest misconception that you feel risk professionals have about medical marijuana and workers' comp today?
I think the biggest misconception is there's a difference between medicinal marijuana and recreational marijuana.
Still.
Say that. Yeah, still.
Still, yeah.
Absolutely.
Really?
Medicinal marijuana allegedly doesn't give you the, high effect as recreational marijuana does. But I think as an employer, we don't want either trace in our employee system while working, whether prescribed by a doctor or not. So legalizing marijuana for medicinal use does not excuse an employee from being impaired at work. And right. I think that's something that will come down the pike, which will cause a major conflict as this continues to be a topic of conversation.
I could see where that is a conflict, right? Because if it shows up in the drug testing, then it becomes a red flag for somebody like you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. So you're working to help dispel that myth by coming on the show, but also by being at RISKWORLD, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So from your vantage point at CHOP, it's so cool to be able to say that. How has the conversation around cannabis and workplace injury evolved in just the last few years?
So believe it or not, I have not had to have this conversation at my particular healthcare institution from a workers' comp perspective because we have not seen an influx of chronic pain or severe injuries in my tenure.
Oh, good.
So it's good for the employer perspective, which means that our injuries are pretty under control. But I will say that when we get into back surgeries, shoulder surgeries, whenever we have situations where there are major surgeries involved, I definitely see this conversation becoming an issue. What I would say is I'm very good at interacting with my medical providers, and that's the doctors, that's the specialists, that's the therapists, whoever is involved in my particular program. So I think that if medical marijuana were to become a treatment option, that is something that I would really need to sit down with my pain management specialist or physician to talk about, so that it is something that is monitored, something that is regulated, something that may have an end date, or what are we ultimately doing?
Yeah.
The goal is to not put an employee on medical marijuana and just say, keep renewing the card, and they're just out there collecting marijuana.
As much as they might like to do that, we don't want that. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. There has to be a treatment plan. There has to be a target date, which is, pretty much the bread and butter of what a workers' compensation claim is. Our goal is to always get the person either back to work or get them back to their baseline so that they can function in society as a human being.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to something like prescription opioids, does the conversation get much more complex? Is that something that you handle also?
Again, I haven't had any opioid claims, thank God.
Good.
But in my experience, I've definitely seen situations where opioids have been out of control. Back in my adjuster days, there were times where we would propose detox programs for employees who were addicted to opioids. And it would start out with something as simple as a back surgery.
Right.
And, they're still in pain. And instead of addressing the cause of the pain, they would get opioids. And then they would end up getting addicted to said opioids, to the point where weaning off of the opioids was not an option. So when we're talking about medicinal marijuana, could we have that same effect, or could the marijuana have that same effect? That's the one thing that we are not sure of right now.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because what you just said is the starting point for the bigger conversation about opioids. And we're not really going to talk about that too much, but back surgery, your spine it's got all those nerves going in and out of it. That's why people are never going to feel completely whole too quickly, and they need something stronger. But then, like you're saying, weaning off of it is so difficult. And ultimately it leads to those huge nuclear verdicts and settlements, right? That are being litigated still. Some of them are still being litigated. There's something called the opioid settlement tracker that's tracking billions of dollars right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And another thing you got to also factor in, which is not always talked about, the socioeconomic factor of the claim. So you can't just take an employee and says, oh, this person has back surgery. This is going to be a situation where they're going to be addicted to medical marijuana. They're going to get addicted to opioids. There are people that I've seen in my career, like I've been around for 20 years. If it's a person that's like active, loves life, happened to get hurt and needs this surgery, the motivation of the employee, that's why these are always case by case. The motivation of the employee, the socioeconomic status of the employee's, need for wanting to get back to normal, that's always going to play a factor into whether or not this becomes an issue, or this is just something that they have to do because they had the surgery and they're going to move on. I have had plenty of employees who've had surgeries. They'll use their little opioid for 3 to 5 days, and then they're just like, what can I have instead? I don't like this medication. Yeah. So that's something else that we should also take into account when we're having this conversation.
Excellent. Let's quickly pivot. I know everybody hates that word ever since COVID, but let's pivot over to laws.
Okay.
I'm sure, boo, we're going to talk about laws. There's a growing patchwork of state laws on cannabis. What's an emerging trend that you believe risk managers should be paying close attention to right now?
An emerging trend. I actually think regulation and reimbursement costs, along with duration of how long the payment would be required for the medicinal marijuana, if it's something that is approved. I think the other thing that we definitely have to take into account, how long can the prescribing doctor give the medical marijuana, but on top of that, are they prescribing it for the accepted work accident? Or is it due to whatever other chronic condition that's pre-existing that they're claiming was aggravated by the work injury?
Let's talk about some upcoming RIMS events, starting with RISKWORLD. RISKWORLD 2026 will be held May 3rd through the 6th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. RISKWORLD attracts more than 10,000 risk professionals from across the globe. It's time to connect, cultivate, and collaborate with them. Booth sales are open now. General registration and speaker registration is also open right now. And marketplace and hospitality badges are now available. Links are on this episode's show notes, and be sure to check out rims.org for more information. As I said at the top, our guest today, Kiersten Cash, will be a session speaker at RISKWORLD, and we are very excited for her. And the excitement continues with the announcement of the closing keynote. NFL Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, Emmy-winning broadcaster, and entrepreneur, Michael Strahan. He will be on the main stage on May 6th. I'm super stoked. So if you're still on the fence, this is the time to smash that register button and hear from one of the all-time greats. And the RIMS Western Regional Conference will be held October 4th through the 7th in Seattle, Washington. Registration is open, and you can also submit a session. Visit rimswesternregional.com and the link on this episode's show notes for more information. We will have more plugs later. And now let's return to our interview with Kiersten Cash of the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia.
And we are back with Kiersten Cash, who on May 6th will be delivering the session at 10:15 in room BC 120. Reefer Madness, still in the weeds with medical marijuana and workers' compensation. Now, Kiersten, you will be co-presenting, right?
Yes.
Who's your co-presenter?
Frank Wickersham for Marshall Dennehy.
Okay.
He is a workers' comp defense attorney.
All right. And you get along well with him? You're going to be...
Absolutely. I've known Frank for years.
Yeah. Okay, great. And your session, is it going to be the sort of thing where you have a presentation, you leave time at the end for Q&A?
Yes.
Good. You like the Q&A? You like the audience participation?
I like the audience participation. It makes me feel like I did my job.
I got a similar answer from someone else recently, and I would be shocked if your answer was, no, I don't want to do Q&A. I don't want to hear from anybody. You seem like a very outgoing type of person.
Try to be.
Yeah, no, you certainly seem that way. So we're talking about cannabis treatment. Let's ask the big question. Here's the big question. I don't want you to give away the store because I know this is sort of the essence of your session. But why is employer obligation when it comes to paying for cannabis treatment such a legally and operationally complex issue? I definitely didn't script that question. I just came up with it.
Okay. Why is it a complex issue? Because why is the employer, should we ever have to pay for marijuana?
Right. That is the question.
That's the question.
You're answering the question with a question.
Yes.
Yes, I see what you're doing. And because in your case, you're trying to protect CHOP or whomever you might be employed by.
Correct.
And so you really have to weigh the pros and cons of that treatment.
But it's bigger than that.
Bigger than that.
And the reason it's bigger than that is because if we, as an employer, start paying for medicinal marijuana for employee A, B, and C, and A, B, and C have their departments, and then they talk to their friends about, oh, I got a medical card, and I had a work injury, and you know that because my doctor said it's work-related, CHOP is now paying for my medicinal marijuana. This is all you have to do to get it. It can become a bigger issue than anything that we would ever want to imagine. Mm-hmm. So I think the biggest thing is controlling what we will pay for, what we won't pay for, if we have to pay for anything at all, and how do we keep it contained so that people who are not necessarily hurt, but just want free medicinal marijuana do not become an issue for the workers' comp program as well.
Gotcha. Does your program also factor in emotional trauma and things like that? Maybe there's an ambulance driver who's been through something really traumatic and they've seen awful things and they might need medicinal marijuana or cannabis to help soothe them? Is that the sort? Is that even a practical scenario?
So our ambulance drivers are contracted, so they don't fall under my workers' comp program.
Ah, okay.
So in the state of Pennsylvania, there is something called a mental claim,
Mhm.
and people can, claim mental claims. For example, got in a dispute with a coworker and don't feel comfortable coming to work because they don't want to work with said coworker.
Yeah.
Those claims are very, very, very hard to prove in the
Right.
state of Pennsylvania. 9 times out of 10, they are denied. And it is the burden of proof of the employee to show that their mental issue is from a condition that arose out of something that happened at work. Those
Gotcha.
are technical workers' comp terms, by the way. So, no, that is not something that I am necessarily worried about from working at CHOP in particular.
Gotcha. And then harkens back to what we were saying about the patchwork of state laws, because that might be different in other states. And I'm sure
Yes.
you don't need to know most of the other 49 states. You might need to know, I'm going to guess, possibly New Jersey or
Correct.
Delaware or
Correct.
one of your neighboring states, just to see
Correct.
what else there is happening in your area, right?
Yes. And I always pay attention to what's going on in the tri-state area,
Yeah.
also within the mid-Atlantic region, because sometimes those laws are similar.
Right.
If something passes in one state, it might be about to pass in the next state. So yes, I do keep up with what's going on in my mid-Atlantic region, but
Mhm.
not necessarily what's going on in California,
Right.
because that's a completely different state of laws versus what happens on the East Coast.
Gotcha. Now, is there still talk about cannabis or marijuana being shifted from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3?
Not in the state of Pennsylvania right now, which is good for me.
Your voice just went up an octave right
I
there.
know, not in the state of Pennsylvania. I think the hardest part with Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 is this change could be significant because Schedule 3 gives medicinal qualities as long as it's prescribed by a physician.
Okay.
Which means as long as there is a doctor to prescribe the cannabis, it's the treating physician, and it's the treating physician for the work injury. We could possibly be responsible for ongoing payment indefinitely.
Okay. All right. And so what's Schedule 1? What's the difference there?
Schedule 1 pretty much means marijuana does not have a medicinal benefit, and it is considered highly addictive, similar to heroin and LSD.
We will take one more quick break. I want to tell you about the openings and the deadlines for various Spencer Educational Foundation grants. The Risk Manager on Campus application period will open April 1st, 2026, and it will close on June 30th. Grant awardees, colleges and universities are typically notified in September. Now let's talk about course development grants. The application deadline for interval number 2 will be on June 15th, 2026, and award notifications will be sent out in late July. General grants will open on May 1st, and the application deadline is July 30th. And internship grant applications open on August 15th and close on October 15th. Links to each of these grants are on this episode's show notes. And of course, you can visit spencered.org for more information. And now let's conclude our interview with Kiersten Cash of the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia.
So we're back with Kiersten Cash of CHOP. Are you a department of one?
No, I am a department of 2. It is myself and my workers' comp specialist who works under me. And
Okay.
we run the program together.
All right. And you've been at CHOP for a few years now. You do work remote. How do you, Kiersten Cash, establish trust with people at CHOP? The doctors, the other employees, the non-medical staff as well, everybody. How do you do it?
So my job, I mainly talk to managers because I do a lot of accident investigation. The way I establish relationships with my managers, mainly I utilize Teams a lot. We have a lot of video conference calls. We have a lot of back and forth on email, but initial contact with pretty much everybody is through Teams so that they at least know who I am, know what I look like. Even though I work remote, I actually set up tours and in-person meetings with my staff just so that they know who I am, so that they're comfortable with me, so that we could build a rapport. So if there's something going on, I will go into the office. I will attend whatever meeting I need to attend. But the biggest way that I get to know the department and I get to know the staff is I set up meetings to do either shadowing or tours of the department. CHOP is a very, very, very big organization. So I just have to pick and choose what department I'm going to go and visit. And then once I visit the departments and everybody knows who I am, they're more comfortable with me whenever it comes to somebody getting injured, someone knowing what to do. I just always have to basically establish myself as a contact. So if anybody gets lost in anything workers' comp, they know it's okay to reach out to me.
Right. And I think that's the right way to go, because if you do work remote, you do need that in-person time with the people that you're going to be either collaborating with or, having to resolve a dispute with, right?
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because otherwise you're just a person on a screen and they can just press the end button right there and then that's it.
Also, with our vendors, so we work with Concentra a lot. We work with Rothman Orthopedics a lot, NovaCare. There's a number of vendors that we work with. I have nurse case managers that help us with navigating our claims. Another part of my job is building and maintaining those relationships as well. So I go to Concentra locations, I tour their facilities, I meet the staff. Same thing with Rothman. I meet my nurses in person. Every single nurse that works on my program, I have met in person. I've spoken to them. They understand how the program is run. Same thing with NovaCare. So I have a very good relationship with all of my outside vendors who also manage my program so that everybody is on the same page and we all know what the common goal of each claim is.
Excellent. Now, I'm going to let you go in a moment, but like you said, you sort of found your way into workers' compensation. You didn't set out to go do it, but it seems to be very rewarding for you. You have a wonderful career. It's going 20 years strong. So is there anything that you would like to say to the rising risk professionals or the next generation of risk and insurance professionals who may not have workers' comp on their radar?
I would say, even though workers' comp is kind of the line of insurance you fall into, it is absolutely the best line of insurance to learn and hit the ground running in the insurance industry with. With workers' compensation, you are the quarterback of the claim. So you're learning about legal, you're learning about medical, you're learning about how to pay somebody wage benefits when they're out of work. You learn what's related to work, what's not related to work. You learn how to decipher a claim. You learn how to properly investigate to understand what we should be paying for, what we shouldn't be paying for. Workers' comp is very complex. It's a lot, but I would not want to hear this starting out in this industry 20 years ago, but trust the process.
Okay.
And with trusting the process, I would say being a claims adjuster is hard work, but it is only the first step to get you into a much bigger world of risk management. If I did not adjust claims for 10 years, I would not be able to do the job that I have now.
Excellent.
So understanding that there is a reason for everything that happens in your career, and just understand that you're not stuck. And if doors continue to close in your face because you want to do something else, understand just because that door closed doesn't mean another door will not open.
All right. And you used a football phrase and a football position. So I think you might have Michael Strahan on the brain. He's our closing keynote on May 6th. You're already going to be there. So you must be stoked, right?
I love Michael Strahan. I think he is amazing. I am admittedly a diehard Eagles fan. I have been an Eagles fan. my entire life. But I will say, back in the Michael Strahan days, I would only watch the New York Giants just for him.
Okay. Well,
So,
then
it's
hopefully
exciting that he's there, and I would love to see his closing speech.
excellent. Well, hopefully he's hearing this and he'll call you out in the crowd. I'm sure maybe he'll do one of those. Is there a Miss Cash in the crowd? And
that would be amazing.
yes, that would be pretty amazing. So, well, it has been such a delight to finally meet you and to have you on our show. To everyone out there, please remember to go to room BC 120 for Reefer Madness, Still in the Weeds with Medical Marijuana and Workers' Compensation. That'll be on May 6th at 10:15 a.m. And Kiersten, I'm looking forward to seeing you in your hometown, and I look for and I wish you continued success.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to meeting you in person.
Thank you.
Special thanks again to Kiersten Cash of the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Check out her session, Reefer Madness, Still in the Weeds with Medical Marijuana and Workers' Compensation. That session will be held at RISKWORLD on May 6th at 10:15 a.m. in room number 120 BC. Register at rims.org/RiskWorld today. And now I want to speak about a topic near and dear to my heart, sponsorships. You can sponsor a RIMScast episode either on our publicly facing weekly show, that's this show, or with a dedicated episode. RIMScast has produced special episodes for JB Boda, The Hartford, Alliant, Zurich, Highwire, AXA XL, Prudent Insurance Brokers, High Trust, and Aon. Links to sponsored episodes are on our show notes. RIMScast has a global audience comprised of risk and insurance professionals, legal professionals, students, business leaders, C-suite executives, and more. Let's collaborate and help you reach them. Contact pd@rims.org for more information. Let's talk about RIMS membership, folks. Become a RIMS member and get access to the tools, thought leadership, and network you need to succeed. Visit rims.org/membership or email membershipdept@rims.org for more information. And let's also talk about Risk Knowledge. This is the RIMS searchable content library that provides relevant information for today's risk professionals. Available materials include RIMS executive reports, survey findings, contributed articles, industry research, benchmarking data, and more. For the best reporting on the profession of risk management, check out Risk Management Magazine, the Society's official monthly publication. You can find this on rmmagazine.com. It is written and published by the best minds in risk management. My name is Justin Smulison, Business Content Manager here at RIMS. Please remember to subscribe to RIMScast on your favorite podcasting app. Email us at content@rims.org. Practice good risk management, stay safe, and thank you again for your continuous support.